I think those of us that know General Stiner on a personal level, one of his nicknames was Country Carl. Sometimes we lose an appreciation of just how significant it is to reach the rank of four-star general in the United States Army, and not only reach the rank of four-star general, but to command large formations of troops in combat like he did during Just Cause in 1989, and then when he was the commander of all the Special Operations Forces in the United States military in the early 90s. But it's a huge accomplishment to do those things, and sometimes we take that for granted.
Well, I got to know Carl first by reputation. When I was education secretary in the early 90s, he was commander of all of our special forces. In fact, he kind of put together the special forces in our military. And it seemed like everybody in the military knew Carl Stiner, so I was anxious to meet him.
Well, he epitomizes everything that everyone should want to be, particularly in terms of the Scout Oath and the Scout laws, because he is an example for all of us in virtually all of those attributes. And perhaps more importantly, one of the attributes that's not in there but typifies Carl Stiner so much is his selfless service. And he gave all those years to the country in such great capacity, and always in positions of high responsibility.
Carl's brother, Tom, and I were also best friends, and we owned an airplane together and flew around the world I don't know how many times, figuratively. And one time Tom and I were headed somewhere, and he had been on barn detail that had been assigned to him by Carl. Of course, Carl retired out as a four-star, and Tom retired out as a colonel, and Carl's also almost 2 years older than, so he was always in charge, even in the family. But Tom was lamenting the fact that a pole, jack pole, a support pole in the barn had gotten cracked, damaged by one of the young men that was working there, and that Carl would serve no less than to have a pole that, according to Tom, would last 100 years, even though the barn would probably fall in 10. And he said, why does he overbuild everything? And I said, because he's Carl. So it gave me a good example of the way Carl felt about something that my dad said years and years ago, which there's never enough time to do it right, but there's always enough time to do it over. And Carl would insist that you'd never have to do it twice because you do it right the first time.
I was lucky enough to grow up in the Great Smoky Mountains Council, so I know the lessons that we try to teach boys and young men as they grow up in East Tennessee. And if a scoutmaster were to ask me, name me one East Tennessee man who would be a good example for the boys in my troop or in my pack, I would say General Carl Stiner. His 35-year career in the military, growing up on a farm in Campbell County, his daddy took him to Tennessee Tech and said, get an education or don't come home. All those things about him are the lessons that we want to teach our young men.
Well, I think the thing that all of us realize, and all of us wanted to work for him because you always knew that you were going to be in a top unit, that he was going to demand the highest standards, but also that he was there to support you. He had that knack that some great leaders have of being able to get the highest potential out of everybody else. He used to have a saying that particularly after we'd had a success, he'd get us together and he'd say, now we're good, but we're not as good as we ought to be. And so no matter what the success was, no matter what standard we met, he was always there to encourage us to go even higher.
Through the ownership and management of pyro shows, we've had lots of opportunities, but none has been as unique as the opportunity to provide the National Day Show for the United Arab Emirates, which was in 1996 in Abu Dhabi. Well, I'd very few times been outside Campbell County, and the idea of going to the Persian Gulf to do fireworks struck me as a bit of a stretch. But I called on my good friend Carl Stiner, and I said, General Stiner, I know nothing about what I'm getting ready to do. Would you go with me? Not really expecting he would say yes, but he said, sure, I'll go with you. And in standard Middle Eastern style, I get a call from the government, and they said, we need you to come over and talk about the show. And I said, when? And they said, well, tomorrow will be okay. And I'm thinking, I can't get ready to go to Knoxville by tomorrow. But I called Carl. He said, well, yeah, I'll go with you. So we jump on an airplane. We head that way. And he did tell me, he says, now remember, Lance, don't put my name on the manifest until the very last minute, because there's still a reward out for me over there. And I said, Carl, you're always trying to cheer me up. Well, we get on the ground. We get in a car. We're going 140 kilometers per hour on a dirt road, and I was still trying to do my conversion math. I knew I was going fast, but I wasn't sure how fast. We're going down this corridor with stone walls on both sides at night. And I said, Carl, I've seen this movie, and it doesn't turn out well for us. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. He said, you know, they're not after you, they'll only be after me. And I said, but would a rocket-propelled grenade know the difference in you and me? And he said, no, just take out the whole car. And I said, again, you're trying to cheer me up, aren't you? Well, you know, we got there. There was a certain amount of adversity and challenges to the show. But I could tell that although I was in charge, the leader was Carl Stiner.
Hey, sir, congratulations. After all these years, we were looking for somebody to pick you as a distinguished citizen. This certainly is the right time. And you certainly represent everything that the Boy Scouts represent, so congratulations to you.
It's a great honor for me to be asked to take part in this tribute to General Carl Stiner. For more than 35 years, this Tennessean distinguished himself in some of the toughest jobs in the military, culminating in his leadership of the world's most elite unit, the U.S. Special Operations Command. It's a true privilege for me to have the opportunity to honor this great American and true volunteer. Sir, although we've never served together, our paths have crossed numerous times over the years. You are the epitome of the professional warrior, an author, and a soldier's soldier, and most deserving of this prestigious award. Congratulations again, General Stiner.
Congratulations, General Stiner, and thank you for accepting our award.
General Stiner, congratulations. I can't think of one person that I've ever known or even heard about that is more deserving of this honor than you. It is so good for me to have been part of your life and for you to have been part of mine. You've changed my life forever in such a positive way. I always look forward to my lunches with you. And by the way, next time it's your time to pay.